The sound of police sirens tore through our quiet Tuesday afternoon, cutting through the gentle hum of the stove like a blade. I froze mid-stir, the spoon slipping slightly in my hand, as I stood in our small kitchen preparing my 8-year-old daughter Lily's favorite chicken noodle soup. It was the only thing she could manage to eat after chemotherapy sessions these days. For a split second, I hoped the sirens were passing by. Then I saw the flashing red and blue lights reflect across our living room window. They were stopping at our house. My chest tightened, not because I feared the police. Shh. I had worn the uniform myself for over 2 decades, 22 years on the force, 5 of them as a district captain. But because I knew exactly why they were here, and it terrified me. I rushed to the window and felt my worst fear come alive right in front of me. 2 patrol cars sat in our driveway, lights blazing like an accusation for the entire neighborhood to see. Neighbors peeked through curtains, doors cracked open, whispers began. On our porch swing sat Lily, wrapped in her favorite pink fleece blanket. The one her grandmother bought her when the chemo started stealing weight from her tiny body. Her bald head, smooth and pale after months of treatment, glowed softly in the afternoon sun as she looked up at the approaching officers with wide, frightened brown eyes. Eyes that once sparkled with mischief. Eyes cancer had already stolen too much from. And standing behind the officers, arms crossed, lips pursed, face carved into smug satisfaction, was Brenda Kensington, our HOA president, the woman who had turned my daughter's illness into a personal vendetta. "Daddy," Lily's small voice floated through the open window, fragile and uncertain. "Are the policemen here because I look scary without my hair?" Something inside me shattered. I threw open the front door and stepped outside, just as Officer Rodriguez, one of my own men, someone who had worked under my command for 8 years, approached Lily cautiously. He stopped when he saw me. "Captain Mitchell," his eyes widened. "Sir, I didn't realize this was your address. What's going on?" I asked, though my voice already trembled with the truth I knew was coming. Rodriguez hesitated. "We received a 911 call about a disturbance involving a minor, causing public concern." His eyes dropped to Lily, and then his face changed. Behind him, Officer Martinez looked equally confused, his gaze shifting between my frail daughter and the immaculate woman standing behind them like a prosecutor waiting to speak. Brenda didn't wait long. "This child has been violating community appearance standards," she announced loudly, clutching a thick folder of papers like a weapon. "Her condition is distressing residents and lowering property values. Condition." I felt the world tilt. "She has cancer," I said quietly. Brenda scoffed. "That doesn't exempt her from HOA rules." Lily clutched her blanket tighter. "Daddy, did I break the law by being sick?" I dropped to my knees beside her, my badge, my authority, my years of discipline evaporating in that moment. "No," I whispered. "You didn't do anything wrong. Ever." Her voice shook. "The lady said bald kids make the neighborhood look bad. She said we might have to move." I looked up at Brenda, and something dark ignited in my chest. For 3 months, this woman had sent us violation after violation. 47 notices, each one demanding that Lily wear a wig, a hat, or a scarf, even in our own yard. Each one carrying heavier fines. Each one ignoring doctor letters, ignoring humanity. Now she had crossed the final line. "Officer Rodriguez," I said slowly, standing to my full height. "What exactly did the caller tell dispatch?" Rodriguez swallowed. "They said the child was deliberately appearing in a disturbing manner to upset residents." "Deliberately? Did she mention chemotherapy?" I asked. "No, sir." Officer Martinez's jaw clenched. "Captain, this isn't a police matter. This is harassment." Brenda stepped forward, defensive now. "I followed protocol. Standards are standards." "Q called 911 on a cancer patient," Martinez snapped. "I called because they refused to comply." Brenda insisted. Normal children don't look like this. Silence fell. Even the sirens seemed quieter. Lily shrank against my leg. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just cruelty. This was something criminal. Brenda Kensington was still talking, still justifying herself, still acting as if she was the victim. I was only enforcing the rules, she insisted, her voice sharp but trembling slightly now. This community has standards. Everyone agreed to them. I watched her closely. People like Brenda always believed rules were shields, that paperwork could protect cruelty. That authority without empathy made them untouchable. She still hadn't realized what she'd done. Officer Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably beside me. His jaw was tight, his fists clenched. He had followed my orders for years, seen crime scenes, domestic violence calls, accidents that haunted sleep. But this disturbed him. "Ma'am," he said slowly. "You called emergency services on a child undergoing chemotherapy." Brenda scoffed. "I called because they refused to comply after repeated warnings." Warnings? I took a slow breath, the kind you take before stepping into a situation that will change lives. "Officer Martinez," I said calmly, "please take my daughter inside. Show her something fun. Keep her away from this." Lily hesitated, looking up at me. "Daddy, am I in trouble?" I knelt in front of her, lowering my voice. "No, sweetheart, you're safe, I promise." She nodded, though fear still lingered in her eyes, and followed Martinez inside. The moment the door closed behind her, the air shifted. Brenda straightened her blazer as if preparing for a board meeting instead of standing on the edge of her own downfall. "Now," she said, "can we resolve this professionally?" That word, professionally, almost made me laugh. "Ms. Kensington," I said quietly, "how many notices did you send us?" She flipped open her folder with confidence. 47. "Did you read the doctor's letters we attached?" "They're irrelevant to HOA compliance." Rodriguez sucked in a breath. "Did you threaten fines?" I continued. "Yes. Yes." "Did you suggest we move out of the neighborhood because my daughter has cancer?" Brenda hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. A suggested relocation might be more appropriate. That pause told me everything. I turned to the officers. "Please note that." Brenda's voice rose. "You're twisting this. I never said cancer was the problem." I stepped closer, my voice dropping, steady and cold. "No, you just treated it like dirt under your shoe." She opened her mouth to argue again, but Officer Martinez cut in. "Ma'am," he said sharply, "do you understand that photographing a minor without consent repeatedly and using those photos to threaten legal action constitutes stalking?" Brenda blinked. I was documenting violations. And filing a 911 call without disclosing critical medical information, Rodriguez added, "That's filing a false report." Brenda's confidence cracked just a little more. "This is getting blown out of proportion," she muttered. "I didn't know it was illegal to expect people to look normal." Normal? The word echoed like a gunshot. Rodriguez's face hardened. "Captain, permission to speak freely." "Granted." I responded to calls involving abuse, he said, staring directly at Brenda. "What you did fits the pattern." Brenda's voice shook now. "You're all overreacting." That's when I pulled out my phone. "I've saved every letter you sent us," I said calmly, scrolling. "Let's read a few." Brenda shifted uncomfortably. September 15th, I read aloud. "The minor child's inappropriate bald appearance continues to disrupt neighborhood aesthetics." Rodriguez clenched his jaw. September 22nd, I continued. "Failure to correct the disturbing appearance will result in escalating penalties." Brenda's breathing grew faster. October 10th, I said. "Photographic evidence enclosed." I looked up. You circled my daughter's head in red ink. Officer Martinez shook his head slowly. "Jesus." Brenda finally snapped. "I was doing my job." "No," I said firmly. You were abusing power. She tried one last move. You think arresting me will make this go away? I have lawyers. So do we, I replied. And something else. I met her eyes. I'm not just Lily's father. Her brow furrowed. I'm Captain Mitchell, I said quietly. District Police, 22 years. The realization hit her like a slap. Her face drained of color. You never told me. You never asked, I said. You never cared. Rodriguez stepped forward. Ms. Kensington, you're under arrest for filing a false police report, harassment of a minor, and discrimination against a disabled child. Brenda stumbled back. This is a mistake. Rodriguez turned her around and cuffed her. As he read her rights, she started crying. Not for Lily, not for what she'd done, for herself. Inside the house, Lily peeked from behind the doorway. Daddy, is the mean lady going to jail? I knelt beside her again, holding her close. Yes, I said softly, because hurting sick kids is against the law. That night, Lily asked me a question I'll never forget. Daddy, if I didn't have cancer, would she have been nicer to me? I held her tight. Some people are only kind when life is easy, I said. You're kind even when it's hard. That's what makes you strong. Weeks later, the story exploded. Headlines, outrage, support, but the most important change happened quietly. Lily stopped hiding her head. Because the woman who tried to shame her accidentally taught her how powerful she really was. As soon as handcuffs clicked onto Brenda Kensington, the entire street fell completely silent. The same neighbors who had been watching from behind their curtains were now stepping outside. Some had shame in their eyes. Some wore anger on their faces. And a few were simply stunned that so much hatred could be aimed at a child. Brenda was being led toward the police car, and she was still shouting. You're destroying my reputation. I was just following the rules. Officer Rodriguez turned toward her and calmly said, Rules don't come above humanity. The car door shut, and for the first time, Brenda Kensington was utterly alone. That night, I sat by Lily's bed in her room. She was clutching her favorite stuffed bunny. Daddy, she asked softly, will that auntie come back? No, sweetheart, I said, gently resting my hand on her bald little head. She won't hurt anyone else now. Lily was quiet for a moment, then asked, I'm not bad, right? That question shook me to my core. No, I said, my voice heavy with emotion. You're so brave. You're a fighter. The next morning, the story had already hit the local news. HOA president arrested for calling police on child cancer patient. A storm erupted on social media. People were angry. People were crying. And people were praying for Lily. Dozens of families came forward. Some had PTSD. Some had autistic children. Some had Parkinson's. They all had one story in common. Brenda Kensington. The day of the trial arrived. Brenda wore her suit, but this time her face lacked confidence. When the judge saw her letters, photographs, and the 911 call transcripts, the courtroom went completely silent. Lily's doctor testified. This harassment emotionally broke the child. The judge looked at Brenda and said, I've seen many cases in my career. But shaming a sick child, not only is it a crime, it is cruelty. The verdict was announced. Jail sentence. Heavy fine. Permanent ban from any HOA position. Mandatory community service at a children's hospital. Brenda hung her head. She had nothing left to say. A few months later, tiny new hairs began growing back on Lily's head. But something had changed. She no longer felt ashamed of herself. One day, she told me, Daddy, I want to shave my head again. Why? I asked. She smiled. So the kids in the hospital now will know they are not alone. That day, Lily shaved her head by choice. She visited the children's ward and told every child, losing your hair can feel scary, but it means we are fighting. Today, Lily is cancer-free. She is strong. She is confident. And Brenda Kensington. She is only a memory. A warning that when power is used without compassion, the truth always prevails. Brenda thought a bald head was scary. She was wrong. A bald head is a mark of a warrior. And that warrior is my daughter.